to my explanation of lesson 55. We'll be going through the practice problems on page 226 because I could not find any other examples of something like this online. Don't be scared by the name, complex fractions. It basically just means that you have a fraction on top of another fraction. So it is a little bit confusing, but it should not be that complex as long as we know this rule right here. Keep, change, flip. It is what we have been doing for every other fraction. So before I get into these variables, let me show you it with just some regular numbers. So if I have this right here, I have 1/2 over 1/3. I like to make the middle fraction bar extra long so that I don't lose it among all the other fraction bars. But we're going to keep our first fraction. So let me rewrite that as 1/2. And then I'm going to change this division bar to a multiplication sign right here. And then I'm going to flip my denominator. So I'll take the reciprocal of 1/3 and I'm going to write 3/1. So I kept 1/2, I changed the division to a multiplication, and then I flipped my denominator. And now I can solve for this pretty easily. We could do some cross simplification, but there's nothing to simplify here, so let's just multiply. We multiply the numerators and multiply the denominators. So in this case, I would get 3/2, and that would be my final answer. Okay, so now let's attack something like this, except it's way different, and this time we have variables. But it's still the same basic idea. So we're going to keep, change, flip. So in this case, x over m all over d. I will be keeping the x over m, changing my division sign to multiplication, and flipping the denominator. So let me rewrite this. I keep x over m, I change it to multiplication, and then I take the reciprocal of the denominator. So my denominator is just d, so the reciprocal of that would be 1/d. Now all I'm going to have to do is multiply. So multiply the numerators, multiply the denominators. X times 1 is just x. M times d is md, or I'll put it in alphabetical order to make you all happy and make it dm, and that would be my final answer. So it's not that bad. Let's try example B. 1/r, completely divided by 1/z. My keep, 1/r. My change, same as always. And my flip, perfect. So I will keep 1/r. I'll change it to multiplication and then flip the end. That was my cat. I don't know if you could hear him. He's hanging out. Okay. I'm going to flip the ending to z/1. That is my reciprocal of 1/z. Now all I have to do is multiply. 1 times z is just z. Over r times 1 is just r, and that would be my final answer. Okay, so far, not that bad. It says it's complex. It looks really complex, but it's really not that bad. Okay, let's go to the next one. It's down here. So we have n over a all over b over d. Okay, so we have 4 variables here, but it's the same thing as before. Keep, change, flip. Okay, so I keep my n over a. I change my division to multiplication, and then I flip my denominator. So instead of b over d, I'll make it d over b. Perfect. Now we're going to multiply the numerators, n times d, put it in alphabetical order, it's dn. Let's multiply my denominators. That's already in alphabetical order for us. We have a, b, and that is my answer. Okay, so now let's get to one that's actually a little bit more complex, one that you might have trouble with. We have w over 1/w plus c. So now we're throwing in an addition sign, and it's just there to confuse you. But let's just walk through this the same way we walked through all the other ones. So we're going to keep the w. We're going to change this, and then we're going to flip this weird guy over here. So keep the w, change the division to multiplication, and then flip this weird thing that's happening over here. So let's change it to w plus c over 1. That would be my reciprocal. Now I'm just going to write this out as w over 1 to help us out, because just the w alone is hard to multiply. So now we have, in my numerator, W times W plus C. In my denominator, I just have 1. 1 times 1 is just 1. So I really don't even need it there. I can just get rid of that guy. We don't even need him. But this thing right here, we're not done. There's something we can do here. We can do distributive property. So let's take this and let's distribute that W so we can fully simplify this thing over here. So let's multiply my W by all of the terms inside the parentheses. So W times W is W squared. W times C is CW if I put it in alphabetical order. And I kept my little plus sign right here because we don't want to lose that guy. So this would be my final answer. W squared plus CW. I couldn't just leave it like this because that's not completely simplified. So I have to completely simplify it, do the distributive property, and then end up with this guy right here. Okay, thank you. I hope that this helps you and you will not be too confused or too scared.